boils down to how these drugs are priced when they hit the markets. Because the discussions and debates around pricing of innovative drugs is no longer restricted to emerging markets. It's a debate that has moved on to the developed economies and the developed pharmaceutical markets, with governments taking keen interest. So we asked the three gentlemen on how they look at pricing in this sort of an environment and what could be the trends emerging there.
There's also a lot of conversation post-President Trump's comments on drug pricing. How would you comment on that, and how does Novartis look at pricing of drugs?
When you look at drug pricing in the United States, it accounts for around 15% of the total cost of healthcare. In other countries, it's actually even less than that. We need to make healthcare overall more efficient, and that other 85%, there's many procedures, a lot of things that are done which don't actually make sense from a cost-effectiveness standpoint. So, one, we have to get the facts on the table, and also to understand better who gets the value. In the United States, there are other groups that also extract value from a drug price. Usually a pharmaceutical company gets less than half of the actual price that you see for the drug. I think the other element that we have to really consider is outcomes and the impact that we have. So at Novartis, we really believe over time there'll be more and more interest in outcomes-based pricing, value-based pricing. So we have 4 pilots ongoing. We're learning a lot about outcomes-based pricing. I think over time we feel confident that we can demonstrate that our drugs create the value for the healthcare system, and then allow us to then be paid for the impact that we have. I think with regard to the president, it's too soon to really judge. I think until we see really clear policy proposals, we just take more of a wait-and-see attitude. We believe that innovation does get rewarded. When you have breakthrough innovation against major medical problems, innovation will get rewarded. That's the strategy our company has had for decades, and that's a strategy we'll continue to pursue.
On the 4 pilots that you mentioned on value-based pricing or pay for performance, how is it going? And if you can explain it to us in a little detail, if that can be scaled up in the future.
Yes, so it's very early days. The concept here is we contract based on the outcomes, particularly for Entresto, where we know the medicine has an impact on mortality as well as heart failure hospitalizations. And we want to show that we can reduce the hospitalizations, which is an important factor for healthcare costs. Now, one of the challenges is having data systems to capture that. I think that probably is one of the key challenges in actually moving to real-world evidence and outcomes. Can you capture the data? The second is, can you analyze the data? Because, in our clinical trials, we control a lot of variables. When you go into the real world, there's lots of other factors, and you need to control for that. So a lot of the discussion is about those issues when we talk to the other parties. Nonetheless, we started them out. We would expect it would take a few years, right, before we will really know whether or not the plan has worked, per our agreements.
How sooner do you think markets like India could see, some sort of a pricing environment like that?
I think outcomes-based pricing here is probably some ways away. I think probably in certain hospital systems, there may be solid enough data to do something like this. But I think you'd also have to have relatively high utilization as well. So you would need both elements to really go to an outcomes-based model. We don't see that high utilization yet of these novel medicines like Entresto, and we don't have the data systems then to monitor. So I think what I would say with India, it'd be interesting to find a healthcare system where we might be able to do some learning, right, to experiment if there was a system that was willing to work with us. That would be certainly an option.
2 years ago, I had attended one of the sessions in Basel with Novartis where someone mentioned that it takes about $4 billion to bring up a drug. Just to understand on how you look at the pricing or the cost of development of it.
The cost of developing a drug, these numbers you often see are averages that are calculated in many different ways, and often what they're trying to account for is all of the failures that happen in drug development. So, I think the reality is there's a lot of variability. I think what we need to focus on is getting the cost of development down, and we see a few ways to do that. One, we want to keep reducing the cost of our operations, so actually Hyderabad plays a tremendous role in that. We're continuously investing in our technology, our systems, digital technologies to bring down the cost of actually doing the work of drug development. We're also looking at using digital sensors and other technologies so that we can capture data better from patients and then actually make our trials smaller. And then I think we also have to be smarter about our decisions, right? We have to kill projects early that are not looking to be successful and really focus our resources. So all of those things play in. I mean, I would expect the industry now to really focus on lowering drug development costs.
What would your comment be in the discussion here right now?
I have a very short comment. We continue to be focused on making a significant medical impact with the science we do, and I trust it will be relevant for society and people will like it and will need it. So I have no doubt at all that what we do will continue to be important.
Sir, Vitti has been a big supporter of pricing, for markets according to the per capita income and not a broad brush strategy. With value-based pricing, things like pay for performance coming into play, do you think that's the future that you can actually roll out for all the markets, or do you think it will be specific to reimbursed markets?
We're committed to making sure pricing is appropriate. We absolutely believe that volume is key when you've got reduced pricing to make sure you get the access to the right population and patients get access. And I think there will be a series of approaches, value-based pricing. I think if you take the example of the cell and gene therapy that I talked about, which is obviously expensive, one of the questions for healthcare systems is, do you pay for that all in one go, or do you pay for that over years, and then, if it stops working, you stop paying?
GSK has actually priced its most innovative products almost at the similar level of its older products. Do you think that kind of a situation will continue, or do you think you will need to probably break that barrier and sometimes the pricing may be higher?
I think the principle is we need to work with healthcare systems, not against them. And everyone can see what the challenges are on healthcare systems. Right. And everyone can see that whilst new medicines bring very substantial value, that value needs to be recognized in the healthcare system. It can't be separate from that.
One of the most important challenges for the industry has been building a pipeline of molecules. But now they have moved on.
And now that they have a pipeline of drugs, their challenge is to bring the cost of R&D down and make drugs more affordable. Well, with that, it's a wrap on this show. Many thanks for watching.